In the midst of the ocean, a vessel employs a crane to recover a centuries-old Iron Maiden, which is carefully opened to reveal Gwyn, an immortal being who has miraculously survived for 500 years. Elsewhere, in Croatia, a team of immortal mercenaries, including Andy, who lost her immortality 6 months prior, embark on a mission to apprehend an arms dealer. The group stakes out the dealer's residence, awaiting an opportunity to strike. When a guard momentarily steps away, Andy and her ally James seize the chance, overpowering him. Meanwhile, Nikki and Joe sneak into the garden, engaging in a fierce battle with 2 additional guards, during which Joe suffers a gruesome injury, losing his thumb. However, he swiftly retaliates and reattaches his thumb, leveraging his immortal healing abilities. The duo then creates a diversion, firing shots into the air and commandeering vehicles, drawing the guards away from the house. As the guards give chase, Andy and James slip inside, only to be met with a hail of gunfire, prompting them to seek cover. Andy discovers a sword and utilizes it to swiftly dispatch the attackers. She then employs a clever tactic, re-entering the house through an alternate door to catch more guards off guard, eliminating them with ease. Niall, a former Marine, arrives on the scene via boat, laying down a withering field of fire that decimates the guards at the rear of the house. As the boat crashes, Niall leaps into action, continuing to exchange gunfire with the enemy as she navigates the stairs and scales the wall to reach the balcony. When a bullet strikes her neck, her immortal physiology enables her to rapidly recover from the wound. Inside the house, Andy and James are locked in combat as waves of enemies keep coming. Using a mix of shots, slashes, and punches, they fight to hold their ground. Suddenly, Niall leaps over the balcony, grabs a flag to swing across the walls, and crashes through a window to join her friends, killing the last guard. Meanwhile, on the road around the mountain, a fierce chase unfolds. The guards open fire, prompting Joe and Nikki to retaliate, taking down several enemies. As their cars align, Nikki begins climbing through the window to reach Joe, but an enemy car rams into him, breaking his leg. The crash sends the attacker's vehicle off the road. Once Nikki's leg heals rapidly, he kicks away incoming bikers and finally gets in the car. Just as they begin driving back, a new enemy vehicle ambushes them. The cars collide and the heroes are thrown into the sea, forcing them to swim ashore. Back at the house, the trio moves upstairs, dispatching more guards until they confront the arms dealer. A few well-aimed shots send him tumbling over the balcony to his death. Before leaving, Niall steals a spear from his collection. That evening, James receives a call from a CIA contact, who reveals that the man they killed wasn't the real arms leader, but merely a pawn. The actual target is a woman named Discord, whom Niall recognizes from her dreams. She's seen her in a library murdering a man and stealing his books. The next day in Paris, Booker, still reeling from being kicked out of the team by Andy for betrayal, drowns his sorrows in alcohol. Returning to his apartment, he notices the door is ajar and draws his gun. Gwyn is waiting for him, and with the help of a henchman, she kidnaps him. Booker is taken to a beach house where Gwyn reveals it was easy to find him due to his reckless behavior. She interrogates him about Andy, but Booker insists he has no idea where she is. Gwyn is furious, having believed Andy was trapped like her, only to discover that Andy has been free all along, living her life while Gwyn was left behind. Meanwhile, the group decides to split up for a break. In France, Joe tells Nikki he needs some time alone. Although Nikki pretends to accept it, he senses something is off. He brings Niall along to quietly follow Joe, and they eventually corner him downtown, where they discover that Joe has been secretly delivering groceries to Booker in an effort to help him. Nikki and Joe argue over Booker's betrayal, but the confrontation is interrupted when Niall reveals she checked Booker's apartment. He wasn't there, but she found blood on the walls and floor. Meanwhile, in Korea, Andy and James visit Twar, another immortal who had refused to join their team in the past. Andy suspects he's the man from Niall's vision and wants answers, so Twar leads them to his underground library, a hidden archive of immortal history. They find that several books are missing, confirming the truth behind Niall's dream. Twar explains that the thief is Discord, the first immortal, who was once his friend. He recounts how they witnessed Andy and Gwyn being captured by religious fanatics 500 years ago. Despite Twar's pleas, Discord chose not to intervene. Twar eventually managed to save Andy, but it was too late for Gwyn, who had already been thrown into the ocean. Since then, Discord has been lying low, amassing wealth and power to shield herself from humanity's cruelty, which now explains her ties to arms dealers. Twar doesn't know why she's resurfaced, but her theft of the team's historical book suggests a dangerous plan. Andy admits that she's lost her immortality and fears Discord might already know. A few hours later, they all regroup at their safe house, where Twar is introduced to the rest of the team. Joe receives a call from Booker requesting a meeting. Nikki and Joe pick him up and bring him back to the house, where his arrival is met with cold, hostile stares. No one is happy to see him. Booker informs Andy that Gwyn is back and hands her a letter from her. The message invites Andy to meet at their old special place, prompting Andy to rush to her car. Niall insists on coming along and eventually convinces Andy to bring her as backup. Back at the house, Booker tries to be cordial, but Nikki remains wary, reminding everyone that Booker's past betrayal still casts doubt on his loyalty. During the drive, Andy recalls the devastating day she lost Gwyn, a place engulfed in flames, her grief so overwhelming that she nearly killed a stranger in rage, only stopping at the thought of her lost love. At a gas station bathroom, Andy admits she's scared that Gwyn might not like who she's become, a confession that unsettles Niall, who has never seen Andy afraid before. The next day in Italy, Andy meets Gwyn while Niall observes from a distance. Andy apologizes for failing her and insists she searched, but the ocean's vastness made it impossible to find her. When she asks Gwyn to rejoin the team, Gwyn refuses, bitter from centuries of betrayal and no longer willing to fight for humanity. Realizing Andy won't abandon her team, Gwyn turns to leave, and Andy follows, asking Niall to stay back. Just then, Niall spots Discord emerging from a nearby building. As Andy tries to reason with Gwyn, Gwyn lashes out and starts a fight in an alley. Though Andy insists she doesn't want to fight, the two engage in an intense battle, skillfully using their surroundings. The fight is interrupted when Niall warns them that Discord is behind them. Discord simply smiles and walks away, prompting Niall to follow her. As Gwyn says Niall's name, Andy realizes with horror that Discord must have rescued her, and the two are working together. The fight resumes until Gwyn rips off Andy's necklace, a treasured gift from their past, before fleeing. Andy gives chase, but quickly loses her in the crowded city streets. Meanwhile, Niall enters a church in search of Discord, who cryptically reveals that she witnessed the crucifixion of Jesus. With a cold disdain, Discord mocks Andy and the team for continuing to fight for humanity despite centuries of persecution. She claims that she and Niall are connected, pointing to matching birthmarks on their arms as proof. According to her, Niall will be the last immortal, but she leaves without offering further explanation. Afterward, the team regroups at the safe house to share what they've learned, but no one is sure how to move forward. Andy isolates herself to mourn, remembering the day Gwyn gave her the necklace and the bond they once shared. In a private conversation, Quires asks Booker if Niall has ever harmed Andy. Booker recounts their first meeting when Niall stabbed Andy during a fight. Based on an old legend, Quires concludes that Niall may possess the power to take away immortality and fears that Discord intends to use her to eliminate all the immortals. He further explains that anyone wounded by Niall has a window in which they can pass on their immortality to someone else before losing it entirely. The next morning, Booker tells Andy he should leave for the team's sake, but Andy insists he stay, given the severity of the situation. He quietly admits that part of him longs for mortality, to finally have an end that gives his life meaning. Meanwhile, at an airport, Discord continues manipulating Gwyn, fueling her resentment toward Andy's team. Gwyn, consumed by bitterness, confesses she also wants revenge on humanity, something Discord is more than happy to encourage. Later, in Indonesia, a truck barrels toward a nuclear facility. Despite gunfire from the guards, the vehicle crashes through the gate in a fiery explosion. Assuming the driver is dead, the guards are caught off guard when Gwyn emerges unscathed. She grabs one of them as a hostage, creating enough distraction for Discord's henchmen to massacre the rest from behind. Chaos erupts as more vehicles crash into the main building, sending workers into a frenzy. While her team wipes out the guards, Gwyn charges into the inner facility. Back to Booker, he sees Niall training outside and asks for a spar. Quires notices their skills are very similar and asks to join them too. A fight begins among the three of them, which proves they all have amazing combat skills even when going against multiple enemies. Niall accidentally slices Booker's arm during a scuffle. She apologizes, but the group brushes it off as nothing serious. Later, in private, Booker reveals to Quires that the wound isn't healing, confirming their worst fear, he's no longer immortal. He begs Quires to keep this from Andy. Meanwhile, James calls an emergency meeting. He's received disturbing security footage from the nuclear plant. Gwyn's team has taken control and rigged a bomb inside the nuclear core. They all know it's a trap, but there's no alternative. The threat of a nuclear explosion is too great to ignore. Before the mission, Joe quietly confesses his fear to Nikki. The two share a tender moment, reassuring each other that no matter what happens, their love is eternal. A few hours later, the team arrives at the plant on motorcycles. James stays outside, guiding them remotely through earpieces using a digital layout of the facility. Inside, the team find small bombs scattered throughout the structure. Suddenly, they're ambushed by henchmen. With explosives nearby, gunfire is too risky, forcing a brutal hand-to-hand battle. Knives, swords, axes, anything they can find becomes a weapon. Though the enemies lack true skill, they're fast and force the group to split up. As the fight escalates, a sudden gunshot triggers a blast that badly injures Nikki and knocks him from a catwalk. He recovers quickly and regroups with Quires and Joe. They push forward, only to be met by another small explosion that briefly slows them down. Reaching the control room, they're immediately surrounded by more of Discord's men. A fierce, bloody fight follows, until the doors slam shut behind them. Suddenly, liquid nitrogen floods the room, freezing the trio in seconds. More henchmen arrive to bag their frozen bodies. Meanwhile, in the reactor core, Andy is ambushed by two operatives who take her down with tasers. From across the room, Niall spots her and makes a split-second decision, leaping across a dangerous gap to reach her. Just as Niall clings to a pipe for safety, it snaps beneath her, sending her crashing down as debris buries her. Enraged, Andy swiftly takes down the henchman who had captured her. But when she looks over the edge, Niall is nowhere in sight. Outside, James notices suspicious movement and rushes out with his gun. He fires at the approaching enemies, but they're too many. He's quickly overpowered and captured. Inside, Andy grows increasingly anxious. No one is responding to her calls. Suddenly, a group of men ambushes her and pins her to the ground. But just as things seem grim, Booker bursts in, swinging his axe and knocking them out. Before they can move forward, another small explosion rocks the building, blocking their path and forcing them to find an alternate route. As they navigate the D2, Andy realizes Discord is manipulating the facility, controlling the doors and watching through the security cameras. She smashes the cameras, while Booker, noticing her injuries healing, reveals the truth: he gave her his immortality. In the next corridor, they fight off more enemies. Andy receives a gash on her arm and watches it close before her eyes. Now she believes him. More enemies close in. Thinking fast, Booker charges through a door, locking it behind him to buy Andy time. She frantically tries to open it, but it won't budge. On the other side, Booker fights with unrelenting force, taking down every attacker before succumbing to his wounds, dying for good. Meanwhile, buried under rubble, Niall regains consciousness. She crawls out and pushes toward the core, where she finds Gwyn. Niall pleads with her, trying to reveal that Discord is manipulating her, but Gwyn attacks without hesitation. They clash in a brutal fight until Niall lands a deep slash across Gwyn's stomach, stripping her of immortality. As Gwyn stares in disbelief at her bleeding wound, Discord appears behind Niall and drives a sword through her back. Her body is dragged away by Discord's men. With the rest of the team fallen, the sealed door finally unlocks. Andy steps through, determination burning in her eyes. She locates the main bomb, with Gwyn sitting beside it, clutching the trigger. The two share a tense but heartfelt exchange, reflecting on the philosophy they once believed in and the people they've become. Moved by their conversation, Gwyn decides not to detonate the bomb. But something's wrong. Gwyn isn't healing. Before Andy can react, a strange noise draws her attention. She rushes outside to find two helicopters lifting away the bodies. Discord is making her escape. Andy sprints and leaps onto one of the choppers, smashing through the window with her axe to hang on. The pilot tries to shake her off with wild maneuvers, but Andy climbs determinedly toward the cockpit. In the chaos, the rotor blades repeatedly scrape the facility walls. Just as she reaches the pilots, one pulls a gun and fires. Andy is hit and falls back onto the rooftop. With her healing slowed, one helicopter gets away. The other hovers nearby as Discord appears at the door, gesturing for Andy to join her. Andy leaps again, this time, not to board, but to tackle Discord mid-air. Both crash to the ground. Discord orders the helicopter to hold position and draws her sword. What follows is a brutal duel, both women fierce and relentless, trading blow after blow. During a deadly clinch, Andy notices something: Discord's wounds aren't healing. She's lost her immortality. Her plan all along was to capture the team and force Niall to transfer her gift. Fueled by desperation, Discord gains the upper hand, finally driving her blade through Andy's torso. As Discord escapes in the helicopter, Andy, bleeding but unbroken, vows to rescue her team. Later, Andy searches Quires' library for answers but finds nothing useful. She nurses Gwyn back to health, and the two reconcile. Together, they suit up, ready to take the fight to Discord, this time, side by side. Please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.